The entrepreneurial spirit, it skipped a generation. My grandfather built a business. The American dream, came here, struggled, worked for corporate America, and then he built his way. He had a corporation that fixed engines for airlines. And, 9/11 happened. And that was a different story for him. But no, my mom was very conservative. She worked in corporate America, miserable for over 30 years.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one teeny tiny little favor and make sure to give us a follow because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing guests I got coming on this year. Without further ado, I got a very special guest here. I actually met him, I think it's been like a little over a year now. It's been quite some time since we actually first met, and there's a lot of these websites that are help people who want to hop on podcasts and people who have podcast connects. And so I reached out to Omar quite a while ago to hop on his podcast and had a great interview over there. And then now we're back on my podcast for the first time. Omar's here. And so without further ado, Omar, for anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to get to know you, to get you meet you yet, man, tell us your elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
Elevator pitch, business coach, personal development coach. Wrote two books. Have a TED Talk that I did in November in Houston, and I help people overcome their fear.
Amazing, man. And so take us back in the time machine a little bit, right? Let's travel back in time. What was little Omar like growing up? Were you always like, having a vision for, business and kind of what you're doing now? Or like, what was it like growing up, man? Take us back.
Well, what it was like growing up for me? No, man, I was a severe introvert. I wouldn't talk to people. I wouldn't talk to women. I wouldn't talk to anybody. They put me in ESOL, English for speakers of another language, for three
Yeah.
years. When I grew up in Miami, it wasn't the international city. It was very, very rural, very redneck. So yeah, I I didn't become who I was. I had to leave town. I thought it was Miami. I went away for school, LSU in Baton Rouge, and I realized that problems still follow you. I was still fearful of rejection. I was a severe introvert, didn't really talk much. Well, to become successful in life, you have to connect. You have to be able to understand people. You have to be able to just ask for something. Hey, would you like to
Yeah.
go out with me? Would you like to buy my product? I would like to get to know you better. You have to be able to communicate.
100%. And let's dive a little bit deeper because you kind of skipped over that a little bit. So I'm assuming when you were younger, so you said Miami is not the international city, right? It was a whole different time. So what was it like growing up? Were there people entrepreneurial around you? Like, did you have people that kind of guide you down that direction, or you just kind of just stuck to yourself?
The entrepreneurial spirit, it skipped a generation. My grandfather built a business.
Yeah,
The American dream, came here, struggled, worked for corporate America, and then he built his way. He had a corporation that fixed engines for airlines. And, 9/11 happened. And that was a different
yeah,
story for him. But no, my mom was very conservative. She worked in corporate America, miserable for over 30 years. She worked full time. She went to school full time to give me a better life.
yeah,
And her only reference was, you need to go to college. You need
yeah,
to get a degree, and you need to go get a job in corporate America and be miserable like me. This is what success is. Well, she didn't say the miserable part, but every
yeah,
time she would come home and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Omar, you don't know how much I hate this. I hate this." And it was always like, "Well, this is what I want for you." But yeah, no, she didn't have the entrepreneurial spirit like my grandfather. She was very fearful. I mean, my mom never wanted me to be a business owner, and I was a business owner for 20 years. And she till the very end, she would always be like, "Well, what about your degree?" Or, "Why can't you get a job in corporate America?" Or why can't you get a job with the government with the pension? It's like, wow, thanks, mom. But no, that was just her frame of reference. But I
yeah.
chose a different path. Nothing wrong with that.
100%. So fast forward a little bit. You went to LSU. Now, from my understanding of LSU, all right, I come from Connecticut, so I'm not too familiar with the South. I've been to New Orleans once. That's it. LSU is a big party school and big for football. That's the only thing I know LSU for. So, like, what was your experience like down at LSU? Like, what were you majoring? I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, you finished all four. If I'm
Communications. Yeah, no,
communications.
no. Yeah, no, I had a degree in communications. How do I describe LSU, especially in the 90s? It was the number one party school. It was 18 and older to drink in the state of
Yeah.
Louisiana. Class was optional Friday. Nobody went. Most people take some 5 or 6 years to graduate. I mean, they've come a long way. My daughter, my oldest daughter, Lauren's going there in the fall. She's a legacy, completely different. But yeah, no, a lot of drinking, a lot of partying. I was also the social director and the vice president of my fraternity. So yes, I majored in communications, but I spent most of my time, worrying about my fraternity and doing stuff like that. School was always secondary, but I did manage to get a degree. I did manage to come back home in Miami in one piece. And I literally got bamboozled by my mom when she said, "Come back so you could get a master's degree."
No, so let me ask you about the fraternity because one of my friends, I just interviewed him. He has an SEO agency, and so while he was in school, he was in a frat house, and he said he was making like almost, and of course not all of it is profit. I'm not sure how much was profit or not, but like 6 to 7 thousand a month just organizing parties and events to throw, and they were just like, but they were bringing in money for the frat house. So like, did you guys kind of treat your frat house like a business as well, or like, was it different?
Well, it was different. We couldn't charge like that, but what
Yeah.
I was a social director. This was my first sales job. Uh,
Okay.
I would get local businesses to donate money to our parties by saying it's advertising, and we would put them on the back of our T-shirts and say we were raising all this money for Baton Rouge Green or whatever charity. Like maybe 5% of it was, and 95% of it was going to the kegs. Going to I would hire a band, and yeah, we got in trouble because we didn't pay a couple of the charities, and the charities complained to degree council. But yeah, no, I wish we had SEO. I wish we had all that stuff back then. Nobody in my fraternity house except for one guy had a computer, and it was dial up, and he was always locked up in his room. I wonder what he was watching all day and night.
I can only imagine, man. I can only imagine. That's dope. So, with the you said the fraternity was your first your first sales job. So it's like,
hmm
what was that experience like? Because I know, at least for me, I had like a little bit of experience going door to door, not too much at all. It was during when I was in real estate. I was like door knocking here and there when I had open houses. So like, what was it like? Going up and talking to people? Because I feel like it's a lost art nowadays. Talking to people one on one,
Oh,
face to face.
going up and talking to people, that sales, I was forced to do it. That's why I love LSU. My fraternity brothers would haze me because I joined and I wouldn't talk. I was a pledge. No matter what, I still couldn't talk. I moved down to Miami. I was an introvert. So what they would do is I was fearful of rejection, especially talking to women. What about if they said no? Well, I would always have to go out to the bars and ask them, "Hey, would you like a?" And they would tell me this one or that one. Would you like to go out to dance or would you like a drink? Sometimes these girls were with guys, it was to start a fight. Another time, most of the time though, it was they already knew to say no. They were friends of the fraternity. So I was getting shot down. And no became like the biggest fear to literally nothing. And then I had to introduce people. They would be like, "So what's your name?" I'd be like, "I'm Omar," but they would call me Goose. And like, why Goose? Because like in Top Gun, all I knew how to do was crash and burn. So they literally helped me become a better salesperson because fear of rejection all of a sudden became, oh, it's just no. I mean, and then it became the mindset. If a woman or whoever says no to me, that's their loss. You don't want to buy my product. You don't want to buy from me. That's your loss. I don't live in scarcity. There's billions of people that want to get to know me, want to buy my book, that want to buy my product.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. It's one of those things where like rejection is kind of frowned upon, and there's so much like when things don't go your way. It's not saying that it doesn't suck. It's just changing
Yeah,
the
of course.
perspective around it, right? And so that you can learn something from it and take something away from it. And so you said you graduated in communications. Your mom, you come back and said, "Hey, now it's time for you to get your master's." Did you ever go back to get the master's, or what was your plan after you
Yeah,
graduated your first
yeah.
four?
No, I've worked for a little while, and then
Yeah.
my mom said, "Yeah, you need a master's degree," and then she knew that I had a lot of fun getting my bachelor's. She has a bachelor's, she had zero frame on what a master's would require. So I'm like, yeah, fine, I'll go. I went to the University of Miami. Well, there's zero partying for anybody getting a master's degree. And what it is these mean doctors, a doctoral degree in communications, woo, you're hashtag winning. They would treat you like crap. They would treat you like garbage because they had a doctoral degree and I didn't. And the only thing I learned, the head of communications at University of Miami said, you know what? You don't need this. You're not going to learn a thing. And he was absolutely right. The only thing that I learned how to do was write 20-page papers. That's all we had to do on a consistent basis was 20-page papers. And well, the only other thing that I learned from the University of Miami was that you can sleep your way to the top because the head of the department got fired because he was having hot undergrad women sleep with him. Now, one, that's crazy, and two, it's journalism, man. All you have to do is if you breathe, you get an A. So I don't know why these women. The guy looked like friggin' Golub or whatever from Lord of the Rings.
That's sheesh. I mean, that is definitely one method to get to the top.
Hey, man, whatever it takes, that's another lesson I learned. Whatever it takes, but you people that are listening, if you're thinking of becoming a journalist, you don't need to sleep your way to get an A. It's a
Yeah,
very easy degree.
yeah. It is definitely your
It's not
morals and
engineer.
ethics.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, all right. So, boom. So, did you end up finishing after you had that conversation with? Did you finish? Did you decide to say, oh, let me take their advice and just like you
I'm
say, screw this?
stubborn, man. If you would have said, "Oh, man, I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you being here," then I would have probably, yeah, this isn't for me. But with him,
Yeah.
I'm stubborn. So whenever
You're like
I'm
an
said,
opposite. Like someone tell you not to
yes,
do it, like you want it. Like, all right, now
yes,
just for that, I'm
yes,
doing it. I'm finishing. I'm seeing it through. Right.
yeah. Somebody tells me, no, you can't do it or you shouldn't do it. And yeah, so the only reason why I went to college, besides my mom saying I would live under a bridge, was my junior high assistant principal told me it'd be a cold day in hell the day I graduated college. Now, I didn't think I was going to get a degree or much less a master's degree. But once that once that goofy guy, Mr. Morse, I write about him in my book, once he told me it'd be a cold day in hell, it was like, bring it on, brother. Not that I got great grades because academia was never for me, but the way I went through life with stuff like that was, C equals degree, C equals diploma. And till this very day, nobody's ever asked me for my college transcripts. So I guess I could tell people I have a doctoral degree in communications. I
You
don't.
probably could. All right, so boom. So you go back, you get your master's. Walk us forward a little bit. So after you said you got some work experience in between the bachelor's and a master's, went back to get your master's. Now you got your master's. Where did life end up taking you from there?
Oh man, life was easy street. This is something I'm telling you that I've never told anybody else. My grandfather, corporation, that he was the entrepreneur. I took a job with him. I was getting paid a couple $100,000. I was in my 20s. I was the purchasing manager for his company. And, it was easy street. It was boring because, I'm smart and but I traveled a lot and I would travel to conferences. I would get to meet people. I would drink everywhere to all these parties. And
Yeah.
I had to grow up when 9/11 happened because I realized the industry was going south. So I was in sales, or I was great in sales. So what I did was I got my Series 7 and Series 63, and I became a financial advisor for Edward Jones Investments.
Yeah. Okay. So take us through that time, because, and not to make you sound, seasoned, but I was about 9 days old when that happened, right?
Hmm.
So like around that time period, right? Going into with your the grandfather's company, you ended up having to pivot. What was that time period like? Kind of having the rug swept from underneath you. Was it like very sudden, like where it's like instantly you had to find
Oh,
something else and do it? It was sudden.
oh, it was sudden. I knew it. I saw the handwriting on the wall. I was in New
Yeah.
Orleans for
Yeah.
aviation conference. All those idiots wrote themselves out a job. They're renting cars to drive wherever. Well, it was my second home. So I stayed in New Orleans. I invited my fraternity brothers. I was in my mid to late 20s, and we just partied. And but I knew I just started dating who would have became my wife for 20 years. And, she told me it was time to grow up. So, I had two things. I could either cry or get up off the floor and work my way back.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like when you get hit with those decisions where it's like, all right, well you only have either, you said crash and burn, right? Or right, figure it out.
Yeah,
It definitely makes it exposes a lot of people who just want to be successful and the people who are gonna go out there and get after it.
of course. Yeah, definitely. Dude, everybody has a story. You can
Yeah.
two things. You can live in your story. I mean, I have a buddy that all he talks about was his brother took the family fortune, took all the businesses away because he had power of attorney, and they were SOL. He didn't provide for them, and he took everything and ran. Well, okay, that sucks, man. So what are you going to do about it?
Mhm.
Absolutely nothing. All the guy does is recreates it and talks about it, talks about his brother, talks about how there can't be a God because God forbid something bad happened. And, it's like, bro, we've all, you know, had something bad happen to us. You can do two
Yeah.
things. You can relive it and tell everybody the same story over and over again, or you overcome it. I just told you that, and it's not something I really ever think about.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like no one really cares about your story, which is ironic because like
No.
unless they could see yourself, they care what you do with it, and like that's why a lot of people. One of the quotes I love is like you may have probably heard this one, but it's like you can have reasons or results, but you can't have both, right?
Yeah,
You can
it's
have
you can have excuses. You can have excuses or results, but you can't.
no,
But it's true. It's true, dude. Everybody has success. There's an ebb and flow. There's
mhm,
times there's prosperity. There's times that you're not, and money comes and goes. But what are you going to do about it, man? You
mhm.
you know, if anything, if you have a sad story, use it to your benefit and like crush it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because what else do you have to do, right? And
Exactly.
one of the litmus tests I've been using recently with like conversations when I talk to people, it's like how much of this conversation is centered around what we did in the past, like memories, versus like what we currently have going on and what they're work and what they plan to work on in the future. And like for the people who tend to live more in the past, it's good every now and then to like enjoy the memories, right? Look back, like yeah, we did this and that. Those are good times, yeah. But it's also that's the only thing that we talk about. It's like, well, it maybe you just one really love your memories, right? It's really good times, or you. It's most likely the second reason where it's like you might not be really working on anything right now or looking to do anything like
No,
you
man.
have anything you're looking forward to.
That's because it's like you peaked. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like when you hear that saying, you'll hear it more 10 years from now. Oh, our buddy or that hot chick peaked at
yeah.
18. That's all that tells me, man.
Yeah. And so fast forward a little bit, right? So you ended up pivoting, you got your Series 6, right? And then you got into the financial industry. What was that like around that time? Like from what I know, like selling did you instantly go into like selling like life insurance or was it like annuities and stocks or like where did that go?
Stocks, bonds, life insurance,
The whole nine yards.
go door knocking. So
Yeah.
I got door to door experience. I got B2B experience. I got cold calling experience. You name it, man. I mean, I've tried. I've done outbound, inbound, all sorts of sales.
Yeah, okay. And then from there, let me ask you, because I mean, I've been curious, and I think this is a good point to ask. So, where did you get into? Because I mean, that's still kind of like an entrepreneurial position. It's like sales is very entrepreneurial. It's kind of like a job, but it's also kind of like your business. So it's kind of like a weird gray zone. But like, when did you start getting into like the more so like business consulting, the coaching, all that stuff? When did you start like having your own business? When did that come about?
I started my own business, or my ex-wife and I, we did. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep. She
Hmm.
was successful in that. I was successful as a financial advisor, and a coach said, "Hey, do you want to increase sales? Do you want to by over 30%?" I'm like, "Heck yeah!" Well, he's like, a two for one, Anthony Robbins, and Anthony Robbins unleashed the power within. Now, like
Is
most
that Tony Robbins or
Latinos, yeah,
is
it's the
Anthony?
same guy,
Okay.
brother. It doesn't.
Okay.
He goes by both, man. Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins unleashed the power within. He still does it to this day. Like most Hispanics, I didn't read any books. I didn't know who Zig Ziglar was. I had no personal development, no business development. And she knew who Tony Robbins was. So I bought the tickets for her. And then after 3 days and after walking on fire, we decided to become entrepreneurs. We opened up our own business for 20 years, five locations. I got up to seven locations, five Smoothie Kings and two Supercuts. And I started business consulting because I actually was helping a lot of people that were either in the red or breaking even and helping them become successful. And unlike most business coaches, I've had to own a business. Most people, they go to the John Maxwell school or whatever school to become a coach. They get
Yeah.
certified, and it's like, what business have you owned? Oh, I don't. I just have the certificate.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, that's one of the things that for anyone listening right now, what Omar is referring to is that there's like certain programs, certain people who have, are pretty much stamped in the personal development industry as like, they're goaded pretty much. They got their jerseys retired pretty much. John Maxwell's still in the business, but these people who are just like super big and they have these different training programs they can go through, become certified. And so people almost kind of like college, they go through to get these certifications and then start trying to coach other people and not having done the thing. And like one of the biggest trends, I don't know if you probably do see it as well, but there's been a big trend of business coaches who coach business owners, like they're coaches that coach other coaches on business. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
like
yeah. Well,
it
I mean,
never made
full
sense.
full disclosure, I'm a certified Grant Cardone business
Yeah,
coach as well as a Zig Ziglar coach, and which is fine and dandy.
but you
Teaches
also
me
had your
how to
boots in
go.
the ground, is what I'm
Yes,
getting
yes,
at.
that's why.
You had your
Could you
boots in the
imagine?
ground.
Well, John, this is like here. I'll give you this example. Would you go on a plane when the guy going to like somewhere like Denver or Steamboat, someplace with a lot of mountains, experienced pilot, and the pilot's like, "Hey, don't worry about this. I, I've been awesome on that flight simulator. I got my certificate and all." Would you board that flight? No. But what people are like, they hire somebody based on where they got their certification, or they're like, "Oh my God, I love that guy on Instagram. He went from mowing lawns to all of a sudden he's wealthy in only 3 months." It's like, that's bullshit, man. Let's be honest.
Yeah, another one I've been seeing that this one like baffled me, like which is even more insane. Is the 20-year-old life coaches. It's like
Oh, yes, yes. I love those too.
and it's no, I think there's a certain saying where it's like it's not about, it's like there's some people who live 40 years one time, retire and call it a life, and there's people who live 40 different years, right? And so it's not always about like how many years you've lived, but what you've lived in the years and how much you've experienced in those years. But then also, no matter, man, it's hard to believe that even in 20 years, 25 years, even if you've gone through a lot, like, man, there's still so much that you've yet to
Well,
learn and know.
well, John, here, I'll give you this example. You know, on going to a life coach that's 20, 21, 22, unless it's the Dalai Lama reincarnated.
Yeah.
I'm Catholic. It's like going to my priest and asking him how to raise my kids or how to be in a successful marriage. He's done neither. Somebody
Yeah.
that's 20, 21, 22 hasn't lived their life. They don't know any
No.
better, man. It's
Hmm.
just it's just a simple fact. I'm not trying to be a One, I'm not a boomer. I'm Gen X, but I'm not trying to be an old guy. It's just
Yeah,
something you have to live through it. It's like how do you find success? Consistency on a basis that takes years, man. It's not like an overnight success. There is no
yeah.
overnight success.
And if there is, then they're either A, going to fall very soon, or B, not going to know what to do with it, which ends up to it falling eventually. This is like
Exactly.
the quicker you get it, the quicker you lose it. And one of the things I learned, Richest Man in Babylon was like one of the first books I read. I think it was like book number 4. And I remember in the book, this one guy came to the main protagonist or narrator or whatever and was like, hey, we got some crystals or whatever. And if we go to this other place, not too far from here, we can sell it, make a profit, and they have these gemstones or something. And then, be rich and enjoy. And it got played. It was a good opportunity, but they didn't know what they were doing. And it's just
Hmm.
like more often than not, those get rich quick schemes. It's like anything where it's like you ain't have to struggle to get, man. I would stay away from, and not has to be a skeptic. That's not to be, a cynic or
No.
whatever. But it's just like it's something that raises a red flag when there's no hardship involved in getting that desired result, and that could be with a relationship, that could be with a business, with a friendship. It's like from what I found, like the things that are worthwhile usually don't come by super easily. There's like some grit, some elbow grease you got to put into it to actually get it.
Well, it's a process, and it's like training. You
Yeah.
have to build up that muscle. It's like all those people trying to cut corners with the semi-glutide or the Osmo, whatever.
Hmm.
Once you're off that, you didn't create that mindset. You didn't do the work. You're going to
Yeah.
gain all the weight back. And it's like the person that you give money or they win it in the lottery or they pull it at a slot machine at Caesar's Palace. They didn't have that muscle. They don't have the tools on how to make money, how to keep money. So that's why most lottery winners, most people that are given a lot of money, they lose it.
Yeah, no, 100%. So fast forward a little bit because there's one part I wanted to kind of always ask you about. We didn't get to cover yet. Is at what point in time did the podcast come into the picture? So I know you had your business. You talk about your coaching. You had your own
Hmm.
supercuts and the Smoothie Kings and all this stuff. At what point in time did you just decide to start a podcast and why? I'm always curious because I know for me it was definitely an idea I got from a friend, and I might have mentioned it when we talked a long time ago, but it was one of my boys' idea to start the podcast, and I just kind of went forward with it while he went back to school, and I just seen it through. But like, what was the origin? What was the birth of your podcast? And then to follow that up, what makes you keep doing it? Because it could be a labor of love a lot of times, especially when you're getting it started.
Uh, the origins of What If It Did Work, I wrote the book first, What If It Did Work?
Yeah.
And the whole point of me doing a video or writing a book or doing a TED Talk or even the podcast was really just to help one person, maybe two people, and create a movement. My original videos were to help out a teenager. It was my wife at the time, one of her best friends, had an at-risk son. And I did videos and I would post them, and he started watching them, and they were like a minute, 90 seconds, and he enjoyed them. And I just kept on doing more and more. And then after 40 something years, I wrote What If It Did Work? And, people are like, why not do a podcast? And I have a degree in communications. So, exactly, why not a podcast? And the reason why I keep on doing it is because I get to learn. I get to learn
Hmm.
from people. I meet amazing people. I got to meet you, John, and then I
Hmm.
get to learn from people. So it's selfish on my part in that aspect, but I also get to interview people that can help change other people for the better.
Yeah, man, I love that you mentioned that because it's one of the things I always talk about. How like podcasting is so underrated. People think podcasting, they think it's a lot of work. Honestly, it's only a lot of work if you make it out to be a lot of work. You just get Zoom, and Zoom you can live stream to YouTube. So like literally that's your podcast, and you don't even need a mic. You could just have headphones, and most people have headphones, and like boom. If you want to make it more complex and actually take it seriously, by all means, you could have, need a mic, whatever, a camera, yada yada yada. But like,
People create
man,
obstacles, John,
100%, hundred
on
percent. They
why they
make things
can't
more
do it. It's
complicated.
the easiest thing. Anything is easy. Every answer is out there, but we tell ourselves we can't do it because we need
Mm,
what? We need a studio. We need to rent out a studio. We need to be Steven Spielberg. We need to be what, man? Uh, dude, I'm only wearing headsets because you told me I need to. I wouldn't do that. Uh, the mic, I don't like the way it sounds, man. It's a prop. I use the Mac. I think it sounds better. My studio, it's my Peloton's right behind me.
yeah,
So I've been doing it for it'll be 4 years in July. So
yeah,
it's all myths, all lies. People worry about bullshit. The most important thing is content. What's the message? And if you do it on a consistent basis, people stop after 6, 7 episodes because they want to be the next Ed Milet. They want to be the next Andy Frisella instead of saying, I just want to be the best version of myself.
hmm like who you compare yourself to, right? You
I only
can't compare
care.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I only compare to myself who I was yesterday. I can't compare
Hmm
myself to other people. Why should I?
Yeah, and 100%. And you mentioned too, like I think when it comes to life, I think life is as simple and as complicated as we want it to be. And most people often tend to overcomplicate things, including myself, especially when we're passionate about something and we're like creative. Like, man, when it comes to like, for example, like business, I get all these different ideas. I start to, I love marketing, right? And like in the space of marketing alone, man, you can get down some rabbit holes that you'll never find your way out of. You start looking into funnels and conversions and click through rates and
Oh,
optimizing.
yeah, of
Man, it
course,
gets
man.
so complicated so quickly, man. Oh my goodness.
One of the things I always tell people, life is simple. We just complicate it by making it complicated. And also, exactly, you're talking about click funnels and all that. Dude, people create that. It's a business. If all you have to do is have a message, have an offer, and do it over and over on a consistent basis. That's all. Plain and
Yeah,
simple. I,
100%.
I, I didn't have a funnel. Well, I sold smoothies, but you know, yeah, Russell Brunson's
Smoothies,
amazing, but he,
yeah.
he's a great sales guy.
That's it, man. That's the bottom of it. And it's like, I think one of the things too that I've been learning is like being able to take information and make it make sense based on where you are in that moment. I think that's always the hard part because once you get into even in personal development, you start learning all these different things about like got to get your head right and laws of success and all these different things. It's like, well, a lot of that stuff is good information, but is it what you need based on where you currently are? And it gets very easy to like look at all these people and see what they're doing and then see what they're preaching and not take into consideration all the context behind it, like based on like where they currently are in life, how much they're currently making, the lifestyle that they want to live, right? That could all be out of alignment with what you got going on. But if you just hear the advice, the value on at face value, it could be very misleading at times.
Amen. Dude,
Yeah.
it's common sense. We just pretend we don't have the answers. We pretend we're waiting for the latest diet to come out. We're waiting for the newest book. We're waiting for the new investment opportunity. All the answers, we were already programmed with them. We just pretend. Because it gives us an excuse. It gives us an out on
hmm
why not to be successful.
No, 100%. And speaking about new stuff that's coming up, I think this is a perfect segue. Omar, man, time has been flying over the past like 40 minutes or so that we've been talking together, man. Uh, talk for anyone that wants to keep up with you, want to learn more about what you got going on. Do you have anything new that's in the works right now? Where can we listen to your podcast? Where can we check you out at?
Oh yeah, for sure, brother. If you're on Facebook, like all of us old people, What if it did work? Join free group, uh, information, videos you can post, you can help market. Just it's personal and business development. You can also go to Instagram, Omar Medrano 73, not the fake one. I'm not going to sell you crypto. Free videos. Dude, I'm all about giving away free information. I want to be a person of value. If you want to buy my books, Amazon, Omar Medrano, What If It Did Work, the name of my podcast too, and The Vacation CEO, a book. One's on personal development, and the other one is on how to be an owner, how to be an entrepreneur, and how to scale your business.
Amazing. Now it's time for my favorite segment, man. The famous 5 questions, same 5 questions I ask every single guest. And I'm excited to hear what you got to say, man. So, question number one: what is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
The most impactful lesson I ever learned is when you're down, you know who your true friends are.
Want to give us some context behind that?
No, it's just everybody wants to party with you. Everybody wants to be your friend. Everybody wants to give you the accolades when you're a success. But when you lose money or you're down, there's crickets. People disappear. You know who your true friends are. You know who's in your corner. Also, quit looking for people to give you confirmation, to tell you go for it. All you need is one person to believe in yourself, and that's you. If you believe in what you're doing, that's all you need. You don't need cheerleaders.
What is the most admirable trait a person can have?
Honesty, to be honest. We live in such a fake world, man. People with their filters on social media, or, they're like realtors. They want to stage their life. Hashtag winning. Just be honest. Just be who you are and quit trying to be a mini Grant Cardone or a mini Patrick Bet David or any of these people. The world already has one. The world doesn't need another Anthony Robbins or Tony Robbins. The world needs the best version of you.
No, 100%. I don't know if you know, but man, I have my real estate license, and so like, man, I see it all the time, and the 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 image that people try to portray
Yeah,
themselves as online, man. Oh my goodness. All right, question number three:
100%. Mhm.
if you had to change someone's life but only had one book to give them, which book would you recommend?
By somebody I grew up with. What If It Did Work by Omar Medrano.
Alrighty, what is the legacy that you're working on leaving behind?
The legacy that I'm leaving behind is two things. I want my children to tell me, or when the day comes that St. Peter calls me, that I was the best, that I was just dad. I want to be the best dad that I could possibly be for Lauren and Mia Madrano. The second thing is that I want people to say, he truly helped. He didn't look at me like I was a checking account. He actually wanted to be in service and leave a positive mark on this world.
And for anyone that wants to embark on their walk to wealth today, what is the first step you recommend they take?
Take the next day. You've already blown 20, 30, 40 years of your life. What's one more day? And be honest with yourself. Write down what it is that you actually want. Be specific and come up with a plan. It's plain and simple. Be specific. Write down what you're willing to do, what you're willing to give up. Take action. And it's not going to work on the first day or the second day, but if you keep on and you wake up every single day saying, I'm going to be the best version than I was yesterday, and you keep on winning those days, you will be hashtag winning.
Amazing, man. Omar, thanks again for hopping on the podcast. It's been a while. It took us a little bit of time to get this scheduled, but we got you here, and I'm glad we were able to
Hey,
connect, man.
hey, God wanted us to do it today, brother. Thank you
100%.
for everything. Thank you for letting me have this platform. Thank you for inviting me to be on your stage.
Of course, yeah. Likewise, man. We collabed a long time ago. It's the only thing we can do, and we're also both two fellow podcasters. So, man, we're all about collaborations here, man.
Listen to Walk to Wealth.
100%, man. Thanks again, Omar.
No problem, brother. Love you.